Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here. And in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, I'm going to be telling you guys about all of the secret and hidden grave site locations that can be found within Grand Theft Auto 5. Okay, so a few days ago, I did a video talking about some of the secret and more hidden details of North Yankton, and I saw a lot of comments saying, you forgot to check out Brad's grave. Well, they probably weren't screaming at me, but there were a lot of people saying, why didn't you go check out Michael or Brad's grave? That would have been something really cool. And I went back and I saw those comments, and you're like, you're right. I forgot to look at that. And that also kind of inspired me to check out some of the other graves that can be found within GTA 5, because there's a lot of mystery surrounding really each one of them. So I think it's pretty cool to check out, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So since we're on the topic of Brad, let's start at his grave. Now, if you do use a mod in order to access North Yankton outside of the linear campaign missions, Brad's grave is not dug up. You know that this happens by Trevor in a mission called Bury the Hatchet. So if you try to go there by yourself or through a mod, it's just going to be Michael Townley's gravestone, and nothing's going to be dug up. It's going to be like a normal graveyard cemetery. However, if you do go there during the mission Bury the Hatchet, which is where Trevor flees to North Yankton in order to find out what's inside the actual grave where Michael Townley was supposed to be buried, he actually digs up Brad, and you can see what remains on the inside. And after he does that, if you choose, there's going to be like a few of Mr. Chang's people that come after you. You can choose to shoot them, you can choose not to. This is the only time where you can actually go inside and kind of take a look at the body and the casket itself. Now, I think the only thing that makes this really recognizable as Brad is, one, Michael knows who was buried there instead of him, and two, he's got that like necklace with like the shark tooth on, so I think that's what Trevor recognizes as well. So this is really the first grave we get to see in the game, and it's also one of the coolest because it goes from a state of looking like a normal cemetery to, from one mission later, it's completely dug up, and Trevor's just like been mining out what was left of Brad's burial. So I thought that was really awesome, and it is our first secret and hidden grave on this list. Up next is probably the most interesting out of the ones we're going to be looking at today, and that is a grave on top of Mount Gordo. So this is a very isolated grave. You can see right here, we're on the top of Mount Gordo, and the only thing that's there is a wooden cross that's been fastened next to some rocks and what looks to be a pre-dug out grave site. Now, I checked around the area as best I could. There really isn't anything that gives away who or what might be there. There isn't any signs. There isn't any, remembrance left behind, like flowers or jewelry or necklaces or anything like that. There's just trash, debris, soda cans. But what really we could look at this is what's around this grave. And there's two things around this grave. There's the cottage that is really close to the sea, and there's the lighthouse. Now, I know that there's a stranger and freak mission that requires you to like bring a serial killer girl back to that lighthouse and back to that cottage. So maybe that is either one of her victims, maybe it's one of her family members that she buried up there, because if you're a serial killer, you wouldn't like dispose of a body where it could be found and where it could be dug up. So maybe this isn't one of her victims, maybe this is one of her family members that was tragically killed that maybe turned her into a serial killer. Who knows? There's lots of theories on what this Mount Gordo grave could be. A lot of people say it's the ghost. You guys know that ghost that appears on top of Mount Gordo. Maybe it's the person inside of this grave. Who knows? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below on all the theories you have for the graves we're going to be looking at in this video. But this is our second grave, and it is the mystery one on top of Mount Gordo. Okay, the next grave we're going to be looking at is one I covered on my channel a long time ago, like in 2014, and it's only available on the last generation system, so PS3 and Xbox 360. Now, this grave is actually located kind of close to Fort Zancudo, right off of the Zancudo River, and I think this is a texture bug or a lazy developer, or a developer maybe putting something in the wrong place. But as you can see on the last generation, sticking out of this rock right next to this tree is a gravestone. Now, obviously, this didn't look to be intentional. You wouldn't assume that a gravestone would be sticking out of a rock, and it probably is just a misplaced texture, but there is a certain part of me that says, hey, maybe there's supposed to be a hidden gravestone around here or hidden graveyard. And I know in 2014, when the Chiliad mystery was more of a thing, we all assumed that it was associated with that. But if you do go to current generation, which I'm recording this on PC right now, and you go to that same location, there will not be any grave there, which indicates more and more to me that it was a misplaced texture and not something that was supposed to have any significant meaning on finding a hidden clue, an Easter egg, or anything along those lines. But it still at the time was pretty cool, and it was just like, whoa, what's that grave doing there? So I thought that was really awesome, and it's our secret grave number 3. Okay, the next secret grave we're going to be looking at isn't your traditional style grave where like someone's buried in a cemetery with a tombstone and flowers and whatnot, but technically there is a body here, so I'm going to count it as one of our graves, and it's a part of the murder mystery, which surprisingly a lot of people have skipped that I talked to. They're like, what's the murder mystery? So the murder mystery actually has to do with Solomon Richards and finding, all of his past business associates, what went wrong. And one of those steps actually requires you going into the mine shaft, which on Next Generation is open. It's this extremely dark tunnel, and in the middle of it, there's actually a body that can be found of one of the associates and friend of Solomon Richards from a long time ago. I think it was like the 1920s or 30s, which explains why he's wearing the suit that kind of resembles that era. And the body is really chilling and interesting. So while this isn't officially a grave, this was the final resting place for someone, which is pretty much what graves and burials are. So I also wanted to include it on this list. This is really eerie. Going in there gives me the creeps. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So I checked out this body and I got out because I don't know if there's like a ghost down there. I don't know what's going on, but that gives me the creeps more than any other grave we've checked out so far. All right, and the final grave we're going to be looking at today actually comes from a random event that occurs in Grand Theft Auto 5, and that random event is called Burial. Now, this can be found slightly north of Palito Bay. It's going to be located on these dirt roads, and you should notice that if you go there without the random event, that there's like a grave being dug up at the time. So you might think that that's pretty interesting. And if you come back when the random event is occurring, you'll notice that 2 guys are literally trying to bury a girl alive. And that girl, I believe, is actually the daughter of one of the mob bosses from Grand Theft Auto 4, which is another interesting Easter egg in and of itself. And you can obviously choose to save the girl. And if you do, no one will, of course, be buried in that grave. They've got like a tombstone and everything set up for. So this is one grave that actually doesn't contain a body, which makes it very interesting. And it's the only one on the list that, like I said, doesn't have a dead person inside. Maybe other than the one, the texture glitch one. But I still think it was cool that you could like see this and then prevent it from happening. But anyways, that's all the secret and hidden graves that we are going to be taking a look at today. Let me know what you think about some of the more mysterious ones that we touched on in this video. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments section down below. If you did go on to enjoy the video, a like rating would of course be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or like daily GTA 5 videos like this. Without the way, guys, like I said, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.